overheard our daughter mocking him that he isn't her real dad to her friends. Karma got us hard. Hey Reddit, using a throwaway account as my friends know and follow my main. I'm in a really bad situation now, and I don't even know what to do. I know coming to Reddit is not the greatest idea, seeing as it's all my fault, but I just don't know what to do. My name is Elena, and I am a 37-year-old woman. My husband Tom is 38, and we have been married for about 5 years, but have known each other practically all our lives. We have 2 kids, a boy who's 15 and a girl who's 14. To give a bit of background, Tom and I grew up in the same neighborhood and went to the same schools. Our families were close, so we naturally spent a lot of time together. We started dating in college, but life took us in different directions after graduation. We reconnected several years later, and it felt like fate. Our relationship moved quickly, and before we knew it, we were married with 2 wonderful kids, Ben and Mia. Tom is an incredible husband and father. He's always been supportive, loving, and patient with me, even when I didn't deserve it. Our kids adore him, especially Mia. She's always been a daddy's girl, and they share a special bond that I envied at times. Despite our ups and downs, I thought we were a happy family, but my past mistakes have now caught up with me in the worst possible way. I know you might be wondering what I mean by past mistakes, so let me explain. A few years back, just barely a year after having our son, we were going through a very rough patch. Tom had just lost his dad and had to take over the company as CEO. It was a lot of work, and Tom was incredibly busy as he struggled to adjust to his new role. I felt lonely and unwanted, and that was when Vince and I grew closer. Vince was, and still is, Tom's best friend. Since Tom was so busy, I started hanging out with Vince a lot more. I was going through postpartum depression and just needed someone to confide in. Vince was there for me, but we took it a little too far. One night, we ended up sleeping together, and stupidly, we did it a few more times after that, without protection even. We made a promise not to tell Tom because Vince didn't want to lose his friendship or his job at Tom's company. I also didn't want to lose my husband. But then, a few months later, I found out I was pregnant. I freaked out because I knew there was a possibility that the baby could be Vince's, but I didn't want that to be the case. I pinned it on Tom, and he was happy about the pregnancy. It was a dark period in my life. The guilt ate at me every day, but I convinced myself that as long as Tom never found out, everything would be okay. I pushed those memories to the back of my mind and focused on being a good wife and mother. Tom was thrilled to have a daughter, and Mia brought so much joy to our family. Seeing him with her made me feel even more guilty, but I kept my secret, hoping it would never come to light. I was able to hide it for so long because thankfully, Mia looked like me. She looked nothing like Tom, but because she resembled me so much, nobody ever suspected anything. Friends and family would always laugh about how our son Ben was a carbon copy of his father, while Mia was a carbon copy of me. It became a running joke in our family gatherings, and each time it was brought up, I would force myself to laugh along. When Mia was born, I literally breathed a sigh of relief because her features mirrored mine so closely. It was almost like fate was giving me a chance to keep my secret safe. I was glad initially because as she grew older, her facial features still mirrored mine. Tom never questioned her paternity. He was just overjoyed to have a daughter. He would often comment on how lucky he felt to have such beautiful children, and that each one was a perfect blend of us. Of course, yes, the guilt never went away, but I learned to bury it deep inside. I told myself that the affair was just a mistake, that it was a moment of weakness that didn't define me or my marriage. Vince and I never spoke about it again, and we maintained a careful distance to avoid any suspicion. Life moved on, and I dedicated myself to being the best wife and mother I could be, because I was hoping that my love and devotion would make up for my betrayal. Years passed, and the secret became a part of my daily life. It was like a shadow that followed me but never revealed itself. I would watch Tom playing with Mia, teaching her to ride a bike, helping her with her homework, and my heart would ache. He was an amazing father, and Mia adored him. She would always run to him when she needed comfort, or when she had exciting news to share, so I'm even surprised she ran to me first, when she found out. So, how did Mia find out? It all started with a harmless curiosity. Mia wanted to do one of those ancestry DNA tests, just to see if we had any other cultural backgrounds apart from being white. She was interested in learning more about our family's history and heritage. At first, I didn't think much of it. It seemed like a fun, educational activity, and I didn't foresee any harm. Looking back, I should have known something could go wrong. but I didn't handle it properly. The whole thing began because Ben did his DNA test first. He was excited about it and shared his results with us, which piqued Mia's interest. She thought it would be cool to see if there were any surprises in her background as well. I should have been more cautious, but I never imagined that those tests could uncover my deepest, darkest secret. When Mia received her results, she came to me, thankfully, and not her father. She was confused because her results were totally different from Ben's. It didn't make any sense to her, as they were supposed to be full siblings. She expected their genetic makeup to be somewhat similar, but the differences were significant enough to raise questions. Mia wanted an explanation. At that moment, I panicked. Maybe I should have come up with a plausible story, but instead, stupidly, I blurted out the truth. I told Mia that Tom wasn't her biological father. Then I briefly explained the affair with Vince and how she was conceived. I was overwhelmed with guilt and fear, and I made her promise not to tell anyone, especially not Tom. I thought I could control the situation if Mia and I kept the secret together. Mia was understandably shocked and confused. She didn't know how to process the information, and I could even see how hurt she was. I tried to console her, to explain that Tom loved her dearly and that nothing needed to change between them. I could see that she was struggling with the revelation, and I hated myself for putting her in this position. I still hate myself for that too. I should have never told her. I thought we could keep the secret between us, but I underestimated the weight of the truth and how it would affect Mia. She started acting out, becoming more withdrawn and distant from Tom. I tried to reassure her, but I could see the strain it was putting on her. The secret was too heavy for her to bear. I put in even more effort to support Mia, and soon she started to come to terms with it. At least, that's what I thought. She even began to secretly mock Tom about it, seeing him as weak. Since he wasn't really her father, she believed he couldn't tell her what to do. It was heartbreaking to see her attitude change towards a man who had loved and raised her as his own. But I clung to the hope that our secret would remain safe. That illusion shattered a week ago when Mia had a sleepover with her friends. One of her friends was struggling to come to terms with the fact that she was going to have a stepdad. In an attempt to reassure her friend and mock Tom, Mia told her not to worry, saying that having a stepdad was like having a dad with all the good stuff, but without the authority since they weren't real parents. She went on to mock Tom, saying she never listened to him anymore, ever since she found out he wasn't her real dad. Unbeknownst to Mia, Tom was in the hallway and overheard everything. His face turned white, and he looked like he had been punched in the gut when he came back to the bedroom. The realization that the daughter he adored and raised wasn't biologically his really hit him hard. Tom stood there for a while and then knocked and told Mia that he had heard everything. Of course she was shocked and tried to laugh it off as a joke, or at least that's what she told me. Tom didn't say a word. He just turned and walked away, leaving Mia and her friends in stunned silence. Mia was distraught. She hadn't meant for Tom to hear her, and she hadn't fully understood the impact her words would have. She came to me in tears, begging for my help, but I was just as lost as she was. I found him later that night sitting in the living room, staring blankly at the wall. The silence between us was suffocating. I could literally feel the pain and betrayal in his eyes, and I guess I knew then that our lives would never be the same. I tried to explain, to apologize, but Tom couldn't even look at me. He felt completely betrayed, not just by me, but by Mia too. The daughter he loved so much had mocked him behind his back, questioned his authority, and even the bond they shared. It was a double blow for him. Now everything is just crazy. I fully expected Tom to kick us out, but he hasn't yet, which is good news. Ben is confused and scared. He doesn't understand what's happening and why his family's falling apart. And Mia, despite her bravado, is heartbroken and guilt-ridden. If anyone has been through a similar situation or has any advice on how to repair the damage, please share. I'm desperate for any guidance on how to navigate this mess and hopefully find a way to rebuild my family. Update. Hey Reddit. Wow, thank you all for nothing. I came on here looking for advice, but I guess I jinxed myself. A lot of you really bashed me in the comment section and told me there was no going back from this. Many of you were also surprised that my husband hadn't kicked us out. Well, thanks because you jinxed that for us. He kicked us out yesterday, and I regret making this post because it feels like it's jinxed us. I thought things were genuinely going to be good. I thought since my husband hadn't kicked us out immediately, he was willing to work on things. But no, he just wanted to confirm that Ben was his. Tom did a DNA test, and once he had the results, he finally called us for a family meeting. He said there was no need to exclude the kids because Mia already knew, and Ben deserved to know the truth as well. Tom then asked me who Mia's father was. At first I was terrified to tell him, but he insisted on knowing, so I finally revealed that it was his best friend Vince. Tom looked like he had just been shot. The betrayal in his eyes was heart-wrenching. He then told me to explain everything to Ben. I then turned to Ben, my voice was shaking, and told him that I had cheated and lied, and that Mia wasn't his full sister. Ben was shocked at first, his eyes wide with disbelief. Then he got very angry at me. He screamed at me, calling me a liar and a betrayer, and then stormed out of the room. I wanted to go after him, but Tom wouldn't let me, saying that Ben needed time to process everything. After that, Tom told me he was kicking Mia and me out of the house. He said we had a few hours to pack our things. He told me that Ben would stay with him because Ben was not a child and deserved stability. I couldn't argue because I knew Ben wouldn't want to come with me, and he was better off staying with his dad. I kept trying to beg Tom to reconsider, but he wouldn't listen. Mia was crying the whole time, blaming herself for everything. She tried to beg Tom too, but he wouldn't even look at her. I had to call my dad to come pick us up. My parents are very shocked at what I've done and totally blame me for everything. I've been at my parents' place for about a day now, and I am distraught. Ben won't pick up the phone, and even Tom won't answer my calls. I feel like my world is crumbling, and I don't know what to do. I know I've made terrible mistakes, and I'm paying the price for them, but seeing my family fall apart is more than I can bear. If anyone has any advice on how to make amends, or at least try to fix some part of this mess, please share. I'm desperate for any help or guidance. Update. Hey Reddit. I know I shouldn't be updating you, but I don't know what to do. I need somewhere to unwind, so I'm just going to continue using Reddit as my soundboard. First, to answer a few questions I've been seeing frequently. Vince doesn't know about this whole situation yet. I don't think Tom has confronted him or told his wife, because Vince would have probably messaged me if he knew. Also, Tom says he wants to divorce me. He doesn't want custody of Mia. He says he's not going to pay child support for her, and that I'm lucky he's not suing me for paternity fraud. He wants his name taken off her birth certificate and is adamant about not having anything to do with her. This part is tearing me apart because despite everything, Tom has been the only father Mia has ever known. As far as I know, Tom hasn't told our friends yet. I would have probably heard something if he had. Right now, it feels like we're living in this strange limbo where everything is falling apart, but the outside world remains oblivious. I'm dreading the moment when this becomes public knowledge and I have to face our friends and community. I also didn't specify in my first post, but I was a stay-at-home mom. I became a stay-at-home mom immediately after Ben was born, and I haven't worked since then. This makes the situation even more complicated because now I have no job, no income, and nowhere to go apart from my parents' house. Mia still blames herself for what happened. She keeps apologizing to me and crying, saying that if she hadn't done the DNA test or if she hadn't told her friends, none of this would have happened. It breaks my heart to see her like this, and I don't even know how to comfort her because, deep down, I know that my actions are the root cause of all this pain. I'm still trying to reach out to Ben, but he won't pick up the phone. He's hurt and angry, and I don't blame him. Tom still won't answer my calls either. I feel completely isolated and depressed by the consequences of my actions. I know I've made terrible mistakes, and I'm paying the price for them. Update. Hey Reddit, using you as a soundboard again because I am depressed and I don't know what to do. I feel like everyone is against me. My parents are against me and think that I am totally at fault. They have also gone behind my back to talk to Mia about this whole thing. I've been trying to keep it on the down low and have been trying to convince her that Tom still wants her, but my parents have now spilled the beans to Mia that Tom doesn't want her and is trying to take his name off her birth certificate. Mia was completely devastated by this news and is now even more angry at herself and also at me. She says if I hadn't cheated, she would still be Tom's daughter and none of this would have happened. Her sadness and anger are tearing me apart because I can see how much pain she's in, and I know it's all because of my mistakes. Please, any advice on how to handle things would be appreciated. And no, don't tell me to go to therapy because I cannot afford it. Tom emptied our joint accounts after he kicked me out of the house. I am completely dependent on my parents right now. They're housing us, but they're not exactly supportive. They keep reminding me of how much I've messed up, and it's making everything worse. And I've tried to explain to Mia that Tom's actions are not her fault, that he's reacting out of anger and hurt, but she's struggling to accept that. Update. Hey Reddit, using you as a soundboard again. I'm sorry, but I guess I should have known that Tom wouldn't keep things hidden for long. He has finally spilled the beans to everyone, and I even had to turn off my phone because I was so tired of getting calls. He told everyone, including Vince's wife. She messaged me and she was furious. She cussed me out, called me a horrible person, shameless, a witch, and used so many other colorful and hurtful words. I can't blame her for being angry. After all, I betrayed her trust too. Vince, however, hasn't reached out to me at all. Then I started getting messages from my friends. They were texting me all sorts of things, wanting to know what was going on and why I cheated. When I wouldn't reply, they started calling me. The questions, the accusations, the shock, it was all too much to handle. I eventually had to turn off my phone because I knew they all supported Tom, and I would probably be bashed if I picked up or even replied to their texts. It's like my entire world is crumbling around me, and I have no one to turn to. Update. Hey Reddit, it's me again. It's been a few weeks and I'm sorry for the radio silence. I've been really busy, but I'm finally back to fill you guys in. First of all, I've been looking for a job because I realize now that there is no coming back. Tom is not going to forgive me. He is not going to forget that I cheated, and he is not going to take Mia and me back. It was hard to come to terms with that, but I have finally accepted it. Job hunting has been incredibly difficult. I don't have much experience, and I haven't worked in almost 15 years. My parents advised me to start with low-paying jobs first, as finding a job after such a long gap is really challenging. They have a point, and at this time, I am desperate for anything, so I will take whatever job I can get. I've applied for several positions, but the responses have been discouraging. Still, I keep pushing forward because I know I need to rebuild my life for Mia and myself. On a brighter note, Ben has finally started talking to me. He picks up my calls now and even came to see me and Mia. Mia was over the moon to see him and clung to him the entire visit. Ben told me that while he hasn't fully forgiven me, he is starting to come to terms with what happened. He said that although he doesn't really see Mia as a sister anymore, he still considers her family because she is the only sister he has known his entire life. I was, of course, disappointed by his words, but I have no choice but to accept them. I'm the one who messed things up in the first place. I've also cut off communication with my friends, or rather, they have cut off communication with me. They chose Tom over me, so I blocked them. It's fine. I know I was wrong and I fucked up, but I don't want people in my life who are going to be mean to me and constantly remind me of my mistakes. So that's pretty much it for now. I've been trying to make it up to Ben slowly. He can't come regularly to see us, but he does try. Tom doesn't want us back, but at least he lets Ben come to see us. The only form of communication Tom has had with me is messaging to tell me that I will be served divorce papers soon. It's been a tough road, and I don't know what the future holds, but I'm taking it one day at a time. If anyone has any advice on finding a job after a long hiatus or how to cope with this new reality, please share. I'm desperate for any help or guidance, and to the people that keep messaging me and spewing hate, please get a life. Update. Hey Reddit, yep, it's me again. I'm back. I finally got served, and it's been tough. The divorce is now in full swing. I signed the papers because I didn't want to give Tom any more trouble. This is all my fault. I am hurt and want to work this out. But it seems like Tom does not want to work things out, so I have to sign the papers. Things have been a bit difficult with Mia. She tried reaching out to Vince and even his wife via Facebook. They didn't respond to her, but they messaged me to let me know that they were going to work things out and that they didn't want any communication or relationship with Mia. I think it's cruel of them to reject her, but on the bright side, I did hear that Tom fired Vince, so now he's jobless. His wife can only pay the bills for so long before she'll get tired and dump him and file for divorce herself. I talked to Mia, and she was very hurt. She told me that she just wanted to know her real dad since Tom no longer wanted her. It breaks my heart to see her go through this pain, and I feel so guilty for being the cause of it all. On another note, I'm still job hunting. I have a few interviews lined up, so hopefully I'll get a job soon. I keep getting hate comments and hateful DMs, which I've tried so hard to ignore. It's exhausting, and I wish people would just get a life instead of constantly reminding me of my mistakes. I won't be updating on here much longer. I owe you guys a final update after the divorce is finalized, and then I'll be done with this account. Thank you to those who offered advice and support. I'll be back to give you a final update, and then I can finally move on from this chapter of my life and delete this account. Thanks for reading. Update. Hey Reddit, I told you guys that I owe you a final update, and that would be it. So here I am to give you that final update before I delete this account because man, it has been exhausting. First of all, some good news. I did find a job. It's low paying, of course, but it's enough. I'm probably going to save for a while, gather some experience, and even try freelancing so I can get a better job with better pay. My ultimate goal is to move out and have a place where my daughter and I can live on our own. The divorce has been finalized, and yeah, it was as brutal as I knew it would be. I didn't even bother paying for a lawyer, not like we could afford it, because I knew it would be a waste of time. In my state, cheating automatically disqualifies you from having custody or any form of alimony. It's a huge deal here, so I didn't get alimony or anything else. The divorce was pretty fast and easygoing, except that technically, under the law, Mia is still considered Tom's daughter. He is in the process of getting his name off her birth certificate, but it's a long process. Tom got custody of both Mia and Ben, but of course he refused to take Mia in. He told me right after we finalized the papers at the courthouse that he wasn't taking Mia with him, that she wasn't his daughter, and he would be getting his name off her birth certificate. So, even though the court granted him custody of both our kids, Mia is with me and Ben lives with him. Ben does come to visit me on weekends, and we have a cool relationship now, though I don't think he's ever going to forget what I did. I was also supposed to pay child support, but since Tom earns way more than I do, and my income is very small, I was allowed to pay very little. Tom told me not to worry about it, as he didn't need the money, so that's that. I'm just relieved the divorce has been finalized. Tom doesn't really talk to me except about Ben. He doesn't talk to Mia either. She has tried to message him, reach out to him, and apologize, but he doesn't want any communication with her. He has told her it's not her fault, and he doesn't blame her, but he doesn't want to maintain any relationship with her. So, that's it. It was really crazy, with all the hate and everything. I think I'm just going to delete this account and take a break from Reddit in general. Once I do have more money, I will be taking Mia and myself to therapy, so that's something to look forward to. Thank you for reading and goodbye.